Everything you ever wanted is right outside your comfort zone. So be comfortable being uncomfortable.
There's only two strategies, the strategy that works and the strategy that doesn't work.
I think a lot of times people get complacent and they skip the steps and they're overconfident and they just want to make it into a barbershop, next, and they want to sell another car. Whereas I want to form relationships. I want to make a friend.
Hey everybody, this is Sean B. Bradley, president of Dealer Synergy and the creator of the Millionaire Car Salesman community. And man, I'm really excited about today. So when we get into this, we're going to talk to somebody that has a very unique background, a little bit similar to me and Karen with the entertainment industry. But before we get into our guest, we'll bring him in after the first break. I want to give you all something to think about, okay? So if you're on the showroom floor, what's your plan? How are you going to sell cars? There's two different strategies, okay? One that works and one that doesn't work. All right, let me repeat that. There's only two strategies, the strategy that works and the strategy that doesn't work. And unfortunately, there's a lot of salespeople in the United States that are not very successful because they're just reacting to whatever's going on. They're reacting to the ups that walk through the door. They're reacting to the phone calls, the sales calls that come through. They're reacting to the internet leads, but what they're not doing is building their own brand. They're not building their network. They're not treating car sales like it's their own business. Now, here's the thing I want to speak to the managers and owners, okay? How many times have you said to your people, car sales is like owning your own business? Car sales is like owning your own business. Well, here's the problem. If you don't teach somebody how to be an entrepreneur, they're not an entrepreneur, they're an employee. It doesn't matter what rhetoric and what slogans and whatever you're saying, it's just vapor, man. So I want you to think about something. Do you want to be an employee or do you want to truly create financial independence? There's people like Cody Carter that have sold 1,432 units last year and who has made $1.1 million selling cars as a Toyota salesperson at Tustin Toyota. Okay, how are they doing that? Well, I know Cody personally. He's a friend, he's a partner. He doesn't treat car sales like he's an employee. He treats it like he's a dealer principal. He treats it like he is the owner of his own business. He does marketing, he does advertising, he does branding, he does community outreach, he does, financial planning. He's got an advertising budget, a marketing budget. He works his CRM. He's got processes, he's got automation, he's got actually employees under him. He's got assistants and things like that. So now, how do you get to that level? Well, again, that's what today's episode is going to be. Today's episode is going to be focused on how you are going to treat car sales like it's your own business. So we're going to get into it right after we pay these bills. So we'll be right back.
If you're looking for the absolute best automotive sales training from the #1 millionaire car salesman in the world, Cody Carter, who sold 1,408 units in 2023 and made $1.2 million in personal income, make sure you sign up for Cody's 24/7 video on-demand training, tracking, and testing certification program, Sell Like Cody. That's right, Sell Like Cody is on Bradley On Demand. Cody covers absolutely everything in his successful selling process. If you want to learn how to sell more cars, more often, and more profitably, enroll now at bradleyondemand.com or contact Dealer Synergy today.
Thank you for calling Doing It Wrong Motors. How can I help you?
I was looking at the tan 2023 GMC Terrain. You guys still have that?
Oh, sorry. That vehicle's been sold.
Could this be happening at your dealership? Get the Dealer Synergy team to handle calls the right way. We'll gather all the information, drop it in the CRM, set a solid appointment with notes, so all you have to do is sell. Do yourself a favor and go to dealersynergy.com for a free demo.
And no more of this burning through phone-ups nonsense.
Hey everybody, we're back. This is SVB, and the place to be is the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast, and we've got a very special guest. We got a gentleman named Jamie Jacobs, straight out of a Nissan dealership. You're selling cars. What store are you at right now, Jamie?
I'm at Reed's Nissan. It's about 3 miles from downtown Orlando.
Okay, Florida, the house of the mouse, with
Yeah.
Disney right by you. Okay. So, Jamie, before we get into your automotive background and all that you do, man, I got to tell you, you have a very exciting, interesting background. So, if I'm understanding this correctly, you were basically bridging, your former experience in the entertainment industry with your current role in automotive. So can you tell everybody a little bit about your background in entertainment? You've actually worked in TV, correct?
Yeah, I worked in TV for 30 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, when I grew up in Ohio, and my father played for the Minnesota Twins, and so ever since I can walk, I was playing ball. And I got a scholarship to go play down in Miami when I graduated high school. And so I chose my major by process of elimination. Accounting, no. Business, no. But it all turned into communications. And so I graduated with a television production broadcast journalism degree. And what's odd is when a baseball player graduates in 4 years, usually they squeeze in 4 years into 6 years, but I graduated with honors from Barry University. It was an NCAA Division II team. And long story short, once I got out of college, I got directly into the entertainment business and started shooting a lot of commercials in Miami. 50 pounds ago, I modeled. I know. You can't believe it, but it's a true story. But anyway, yeah, I went to Japan even. I lived there for 2 months. I had a contract there. And it was really cool to see all the cars there because a lot of the cars there aren't here. And so I was taking pictures and freaking out like, oh my gosh, why isn't this car here? But whatever. Yeah. And then I came back to Miami, and then I flew to Los Angeles, and I lived there for 16 years and was in the entertainment world.
All right, my friend. So first, hajimemashite. Doko kara irashaimashita ka?
Oh my gosh. I know words more than a sentence. Hold on. Daijoubu means it's okay. Simasen means excuse me. And chatamate means wait a minute.
So I actually studied Japanese when I was in high school. I used to be able to read fluently hiragana and katakana. And I only switched over to Russian language when I went to Rider University because they didn't offer Japanese. So I'm a linguist. So
oh my gosh,
for sure.
I got to hand it to you, man. The worst, honestly, if I had to relive my life, and this is a true story, honestly, if I had to relive my life, I would have not cheated through Spanish in high school because I did. And then what happens to me? I took Spanish. I didn't know Spanish. I go to school in Miami. Okay, really? And then I could have took Spanish in college. I didn't. And so I dated a ton of Latina women from Cuba to Colombia, whatever. But they came to my school because it was an international school. They came to my school to learn English. So they didn't even want to teach me Spanish. They were hanging out with me because I have a great hairpiece. And they were hanging out with me. And so they didn't want to teach me Spanish. Long story short, I spent 16 years in LA, lots of Spanish, and then Phoenix, Arizona for 2 years, lots of Latinos. So I really wish I would have learned another language. So I'm jealous or envious of you. I can't figure out which.
Listen, you have an exciting career. So tell us about the shows. So you have, again, you were a TV host for MEC's Fail Fins and Chrome and TLC's Designing Spaces. Tell us about the 2 shows.
Okay. Well, basically, I did a lot of home shows. My mom was an interior decorator, and I got that knack. So I know how to take something that's cool and make it really beautiful. That's just sort of a blessing that I have in my life. But anyway, I had a show on HGTV called American Home. and we'd fly around the country looking at the coolest, newest things in homes. One highlight for me was Anderson Windows, of which they're not a sponsor, but they can be now. But anyway, I went to Anderson Homes, and they had a house that was on a mountain in Utah, and anywhere you looked in the house, you could see the mountains. It was gorgeous, and it even was in the Guinness Book for the most windows in a house. But anyway, so I got to do that with HG. I did an RV special with HG, so that was cool. And then I did a lot of work with designing spaces. Well, anyway, I was on Home Shopping Network. I was the Hewlett Packard and Black and Decker rep, but I also got to show automotive products on air. And what's funny is they needed. I've always owned classic cars my whole life, and they needed a car to show this product that I was selling. So I brought in my 1970 Chrysler Hearst 300. They only made 500 of them, and I bought it out of a private collection, and it had the build sheet. It was amazing. So I had that car on air. That was kind of cool. But yeah, so it seems like no matter what I do, my life always tends to lean towards automotive. And I'm wearing a piston on my necklace, so that proves it. Right, there we go.
So talk to me about this. What was that like hosting TV shows? I mean, a lot of people want to be famous, be on TV. You already did that. So what was that like going through that experience, being in the entertainment industry, being on TV, being seen? What type of experience did you get from it that you were able to utilize in the automotive industry?
Great question. Here's the thing. A lot of people do jobs every day in their lives, and they dread it, they hate it, but they do the grind. Whether it's sitting in a cubicle, taking phone calls, making phone calls, whatever. But when I was a TV host, I could work 12-hour days, and it wasn't like work to me. I just enjoyed it. I loved it. It's I don't want to say it's not, it can be learned, but I think a lot of it too is just your drive, and maybe, what God blessed you with as far as, being able to take direction. That's probably one of my biggest assets, is if a director or producer tells me to do it a certain way, I'm able to, change the cart and the horse in the middle of the road, as it were. So, but no, I really enjoyed doing it. But it just turns out that in my life, automotive always seemed to creep in. So when I left Home Shopping Network, I started my own classic car TV show, of which you'd mentioned. It's Tail Fins and Chrome. It ran nationally on air for 5 years. We had a production studios in Tampa. And it was on my bucket list, and I crossed that off. So I'm grateful for it. It was amazing. We shot 55 episodes. We went up to I'm an Elvis fan, and I named my daughter Presley. She's 26. And then when we had our son, the ex wouldn't let me go for Elvis for my son, so I went with Kanan. So he's Kanan. But I flew up to Graceland and covered all of Elvis's cars and some of the motorcycles and stuff. So it was really cool.
That's amazing. So what led you to the automotive industry? Because that's not something that you would think. If somebody's hosting national TV shows, interviewing people like Justin Timberlake and, all this rock star stuff, how does one go from that to selling cars at a Nissan store?
That I sit and ponder that myself a lot, but no, okay. When I was 15 years old, I fell in love with the late 60s muscle cars. And per my show, I never really leaned towards a brand that I loved more than other brands. However, I am a Chrysler, Plymouth, Dodge. I tend to like those a lot. Anyway, although Buick's design is beautiful, but anyway, the first car I built, I was 15 years old. I found a 1969 Roadrunner. And it took me a year with me and my friend whose dad owned a Plymouth Dodge Chrysler dealership. And anyway, I restored the car. And by the time I was 16, I was able to drive it. And it did 1390s and a quarter. And had a 383 Magnum with a Hemi grind cam and a Holley 650 carburetor. But I was a 16-year-old that could do 1390s in the quarter. So it was kind of cool.
I love it, man. So you are in the automotive industry now, and here's my belief. Okay, and this is what's interesting is that I believe to be successful in automotive sales, you need to have multiple skills. One is personality. You know, again, this is one of the most basic, but one of the most important skills or attributes is to just be relatable, to be able to engage a person, to be able to mirror that person, to kind of match their tone or match their vibe, make somebody feel comfortable. The rules of engagement are simple. You got to get somebody to like you, trust you, and believe you. And for you to be able to do that, you've got to be a people person because we're in a people industry. Now, that's one thing. In addition to that, you need to have very, very good communication skills. And Jamie, I'm excited to have you on the show because of your background as a national TV host, as a communicator, a broadcaster, a DJ, a speaker, all that stuff. Right? Let's use this.
I'm getting tired just you telling me about it, but yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
But think about it this way. If you are a professional pianist, right? What are you doing? You're practicing playing the piano. You're practicing the keys. You're practicing your little moves. You're practicing why. So you could get on stage in a concert and give a great performance. What salespeople miss in the United States is that their number one skill isn't product knowledge. It isn't objections and rebuttals. It is their speech. It is their tone, their inflection, their communication, their articulation, their persuasion. And a lot of people don't ever sharpen that saw. There's organizations like Toastmaster that I've talked about, over the years on the show, where Toastmasters is like a gym for people that want to learn how to speak and get proficient in speaking. Then you've got the National Speakers Association, which is an organization that's designed for people to monetize the skill and the art of speaking. So my question to you with that buildup is, do you agree that a car salesperson, one of their greatest tools or resources is communications and their speech? Would you agree with that?
Not only would I agree with that, if anyone asks me the key to life, even though nobody ever will, but if they do, I would say communication and balance. If you can focus on those two things and try to master those two things, I believe that you'll be successful in anything you do. Regarding car sales people and my experiences, what happens is you can't become complacent. You always have to be a sponge. You always have to, and it's not product knowledge as much as you just have to be a listener, be a listener, and try to make them feel special. You don't want to come off as the biggest professional in the world and they're lucky to have you as a salesperson. That's not how this works. You do your needs assessment. You find out exactly what they want. You're saving them and you time. One of the things that veterans suffer from in the automotive sales industry is they start skipping steps. They just don't feel it's necessary. But the thing is the road to the sale, the process is there for a reason. It's like when I played, baseball. I played semi-pro with the Daytona Dodgers for 2 years. I played down in Miami. And the thing is, if you were in a slump or you were having trouble, the very first thing any coach, a good coach, would say, go back to the basics. You throw the ball, you hit the ball, you catch the ball. So my point is I think a lot of times people get complacent and they skip the steps and they're overconfident and they just want to make it into a barbershop, next, and they want to sell another car. Whereas I want to form relationships. I want to make a friend. I want to make sure that they tell their friends about the dealership and me. And so that's the biggest fallacy I think I've seen through the years at dealerships.
No, 100%. I want to go back to what you just said in the beginning of that, and it's important, is when someone gets into the automotive industry, right? They're going to have to learn everything, whether it's product knowledge, it's the road to the sale, it's going to be word tracks, objections, rebuttals, etc. But knowing that stuff is one thing versus executing it. Let me give you an example from your world, right? I cannot just watch somebody being a TV host. I can't just read a book. Even worse, I can't just read a book about being a TV host. I need to actually speak and practice. You watch like Steve Carell, and when he or Will Ferrell, when they play the anchorman or they do that and they joke around going because they're trying to get their facial muscles comfortable with pronouncing certain things. People don't realize that, this is my point, that speech and communication is a thing. This is so important. If you think about all the stuff that's going on with Ukraine and Russia, Palestine and Israel and all the conflicts that are in the world and relationships, again, it's all about communication. Somebody is not communicating what they need or what they want or what they expect the right way. And so what happens? Anger, frustration, violence, murder happens. And that's an extreme thing, but it all comes down to proper communication. You also mentioned something that triggered a thought. I am a Franklin Covey certified trainer. Dr. Covey says from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, seek first to understand and then to be understood. You said that when you qualify a prospect, these are communication things. Too many times, new salespeople and even veterans, they think they know everything. They think they know everything. So they talk to somebody, and all they're doing is trying to just sell, talk, but they're not listening. To be the best salesperson, you need to understand somebody's wants, wishes, expectations. Once you understand somebody's wants, wishes, expectations, then you can meet them and then you can exceed them. But those all come from something called communication. So you were trained, whether it's in college, whether it's at the TV studios, whether it's extracurricular stuff. I've been trained through Toastmasters, through the National Speakers Association, and I've been trained through the decades on stage. But what is your advice for our listeners here that don't have my background being a CSP in the National Speakers Association? They don't have your background of being a national, TV host. How can they get better at speaking and communication? What advice do you have for those people?
Well, Sean, I'm Ron Burgundy, and I'm kind of a big deal. All right. I hope people got that one. Some people don't. But anyways, here's the key to me. Listen, you can't sell somebody something unless you know what they want. The oldest trick in the book for a salesperson is for somebody that you're interviewing with to hand you a pen and to say, sell me the pen. It's the oldest trick in the book. Thing is, people don't know how to handle that. And the thing is, you need to fire back with, well, what is it you're looking into a pen for? What are your expectations for this pen? How do you want it to look? Stuff like that. So I think, and this harkens back to your communications part, is you need to know as much information. Now, I'll tell you when it backfires, and this is a rabbit hole, so just go with me on it. I've been divorced for 4.5 years, and single widows out there that have a lot of money. Yeah, I'm right here. Anyway, point being is, you can't sell somebody you don't know what they want. So you have to, and so if I went on a date, I would ask a ton of questions, and I've been called out on it. She goes, "Oh my gosh, you ask a lot of questions," but that's just kind of my training, getting to know someone, stuff like that. Sometimes the normal public or somebody that's maybe not shopping doesn't understand that, but for me, I do. I ask a ton of questions, tons, and I try to make it conversational. I try to make it fun. I try to include jokes. I did stand up in LA for a while, so I'd like to think I have somewhat of a sense of humor, and I'm quick minded, so I can think of something super fast. So that, I mean, again, you have to use when you're selling, you have to use your strengths. And if you don't have that strength, you got to work on the one that you're not. For example, if you're not good at listening, focus on that. Focus on listening. If you got to take notes, take notes. I take notes. You just got to, again, you can't sell somebody anything unless you know what they want. And not to mention, as a salesperson, time is of the essence. Why do you want to spend 4, 5 hours selling a car? You should be able to sit down with them, figure out what they want, show them what's on the lot, what fits in their budget, and get it done and move on. I mean, I had a guy the other day in the dealership. I think he sold 4 cars in one day. I was even like tripping on it. I was like, wow. I mean, granted, he's been there a long time and stuff, and he's got repeat clients. But at the end of the day, I mean, if you do the math, and our pay plan at Reed is really good. It's probably better than any dealership in the area. But I was shocked because to think about the amount of money he made in 8 hours or however long he was there was he knew how to streamline, how to figure out what they wanted. You're not out there kicking tires. You're not following them around like a puppy. You're
Jamie,
just
so to
you
help
know
the audience that's here, just so this is what you need to do. This is from the late Jim Ziegler, you know what I mean, who's was in the industry for over 45 years, the alpha dog, and he said something that really stuck and resonated with me. He said, master your craft like you were trying to master, get a master's degree in any other industry. So if you're trying to become, a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer, an astronaut, a quantum physicist, whatever, you've got to go to school. You've got to, hit the books, study, take tests, take finals, write thesis statements, whatever. Well, a lot of times we don't do that in this industry. So it's very interesting to talk to somebody who is a national TV host that, their father was a major league baseball player. The mother was a beauty queen, right? It says here that your mom was also a former Miss Indiana. I mean, you have a very interesting background. You come from success, privilege, and I'm assuming money, right? There are a lot of people that are in the industry don't have that type of background. But hopefully if they're listening to the show, they're like, well, man, if this guy left the TV industry to come sell cars, there's got to be something good here. But you've learned so much through college and working at the networks and all that stuff. If you're just a regular car salesman or car saleswoman, let me give you a couple quick tips. One is Toastmasters. Go Google this right now. You could type in any city in the country and Toastmasters, and there'll be clubs that are there, and they're very inexpensive. These will give you all of the communication skills from ad-libbing to freestyle to vocabulary to cadence, everything that you're going to need to enhance your conversations, to enhance your presentations. There's other things that you could do, like the National Speakers Association. Now, separate from these type of clubs and this type of training on how to talk, articulate, communicate, then there's things that you got to learn. For example, Jamie mentioned this, that he did stand-up. Well, guess what? There's a whole art to public speaking using humor. There are people that specialize in incorporating humor into their presentations. And then storytelling. That's a whole nother subsection in the National Speakers Association is creating stories, because humans are not ever going to remember everything that you say. They're going to remember how you make them feel. Let me break down to the audience and to you, Jamie. There's a science of communication. 50% of what is communicated disappears the second that you stop communicating. 48 hours later, only 25% of that 50% remains. So what that means is 48 hours after you talk to somebody or someone talks to you, they're only going to remember 12.5% of the original conversation. So what we do is it's called anchor. You want to anchor stories into your messages, even if it's to presentations to your prospects, because people are going to remember your message and your bottom line if you tie it to a story. Then there's something called neurolinguistics. Neurolinguistics is science that actually blends science with communication. So for example, there's something called tradecraft in the National Speaker Association. So where I stand on stage is going to trigger left brain, comprehension, right brain, comprehension. If I'm pointing to here, different things that I do physically, auditorily, all those things are going to elicit a certain type of response. Then there's psychology. For example, you got to understand that people interpret and comprehend differently. You've got kinesthetic thinkers, kinesthetic learners. You got visual thinkers, visual learners. You got auditory thinkers, auditory learners. You got hybrid thinkers, hybrid learners. If you don't understand what the hell I just said, then you can't profile what type of prospect that you're engaged with, and you can't custom a solution for that person. Because if all you're doing is talking, but these people are kinesthetic or visual, you're not going to have as high of success. And then there's different personalities. So I could keep going and going and going. There's levels to this. It's not, oh, you want to buy a Nissan? We have Ultimas. We got Pathfinders. Which one would you like to drive home today? It's way more sophisticated than that. And so, again, for me, I really would love to just get your opinion. Do you agree with everything I've said? Do you disagree? And if so, why?
Obviously, I agree with what you said. It all makes sense, and I hope that everybody's listening. Something I want to add that if somebody's new at a dealership, and again, this might be a rabbit hole for you, Sean, but if somebody's new like I am right now at Nissan, I don't have a big circle of influence. I left Florida years ago to go to LA and stuff, but at the end of the day, I deemed myself the service lounge lizard. And so if I was scheduled for 8:30 in the morning to be in there, service opens at 7:30. I go in there, I get a coffee, and I just sit down and say, hey, how are you today? You have a car in? And it's obvious it's a yes. And, well, what'd you bring in? They give you the car. How many miles do you have on it? You're just having simple conversation. But do you know that most of my car sales have come from me being a service lounge lizard? I mean, it's an untapped, in my opinion anyway, in my experience, it's an untapped gold mine. A lot of guys like to stand out front and a bunch of vultures waiting for somebody to pull in. Or a lot of guys gravitate towards the phones calling clients or ex-customers, stuff like that, or customers. So my point is you, as Sean had mentioned earlier, at the end of the day, it kind of is your mini business within a business. It is. And you have to market it. You have to put yourself out there. And I know a lot of people aren't gregarious and they're not extroverted, but you gotta, hey, look, if there's anything that you take from this whole podcast from me, is just know this: everything you ever wanted is right outside your comfort zone. So be comfortable being uncomfortable. Take the steps, and do what you don't want to do. Trust me, you'll be happy you did it. It'll make you grow as a person, and it will help you in life. I promise.
Now, for our audience, if you are on the floor and you're trying to find direction, or if you're a sales manager, GSM, GM, a dealer, and you're trying to develop your team, here's what I'm going to say to everybody is that what you put into it is what you get out of it. Most of the industry has a ridiculous attrition ratio. We burn through people. We are in a culture that we spend like 10, 20 times more on marketing and advertising than we do in talent and people development and professional development and training and team building. So we have Bradley On Demand, which is officially the largest training platform in the world in any country for automotive sales. We're sitting on almost 10,000 training videos. So we have a video on demand training, tracking, testing, certification platform. Now we have enhanced it with full-blown AI role-playing, AI scorecarding. And on top of that, we've got live classes. So what we're going to do is we're going to take one final break, pay these bills, and when we come back, we're going to close out with Jamie. I got some really good questions I want to ask him on the way back. So, okay, let's pay these bills.
This has been the most in-depth training I've had in my lot of years in the car business.
We went from 60 cars to 156 cars a month in 3 months.
NAMAD, the entire Toyota Chicago region, as well as the top automotive groups like Coons, Lithia, and Norm Reeves have all used Bradley On Demand to train their team.
They're the most comprehensive training company I've seen, and they by far have the best support system.
Doing 50 cars a month, topped out at 80. I can tell you that the Bradley On Demand training will get you to the next level.
And guess what? The world's #1 car salesman, Cody Carter, shares his exclusive strategies right here. You want his secrets? You gotta have Bradley On Demand. If you're still not enrolled in Bradley On Demand, you're missing out on the best virtual automotive training in the world. Enroll now or contact us for a free test drive of the platform today.
And we're back. Quick shout out, everybody. Make sure that if you're planning on going to Digital Dealer in Las Vegas, it's going to be October 14th and 15th. Yours truly, I'm going to be on day one doing a TEDx style workshop on the 14th, which is going to be around, I think, like 2:40 in the afternoon. And I'm speaking about outsourced, in-house, or hybrid BDCs. What's the best strategy for 2025 and beyond? And then on the next day, on October 15th, Tiana and Jonathan Schreiber from Dealer Synergy are going to be speaking on AI video, AI role-playing, and a lot of artificial intelligence at a 90-minute immersion. All right, so we're back. So Jamie, you started to talk about ways that you get business, and you talk about the service drive. So I want to ask you, bottom line, is what is working for you the most? Where do you get your ups? And where, like, how do you sell cars? Like, where do you get your opportunities besides just walk-ins, phone ups, or internet? So you mentioned service. Okay. So talk us through your service process. How do you get prospects from the service department? Share what you do and how you do it.
Okay. And I want to also tag it with another process that I do, but I'll answer your question first, but also, I also want to do a shout out. Your team is great. Tiana is on top of it. She was amazing. So just know that. You know, what's funny is I'm not kidding you. I did stand up in LA, and I swear it's like I'm practicing my stand up, and I'll do it. I'll stand up and say funny stuff and entertain the whole area, believe it or not. I'm extrovert, so not everybody is. I get that, and everything you ever wanted is right outside your comfort zone, like I said before. But I'm telling you.
So no, but listen, in our show, give details. This is vague. So you're there. Okay, so if I'm getting
all right.
So you're working the service drive. What time do you go there?
That's fine. I show up an hour before we open because service opens.
Stop, Jamie. I know that. You know what I mean? But that's what our audience needs to hear, because Cody Carter and everybody that's successful in service, what Jamie just said is like an unwritten rule. You can't be successful working the service drive if you get there at 10 o'clock in the afternoon, in the morning, and what have you. So Jamie, you get there an hour beforehand. Why, and what's the value for you?
Okay, that's a great question, and I'm glad I sent it to you. No, a lot of the veterans have strategically placed their desks literally next to service where they sit. Mine is at the other end. I am the new guy. I am scum of the earth at the end. But the bottom line is, I show up an hour early and nobody's in there, and I get a coffee and I just casually sit down next to them. I sit down. I've gotten grief before for sitting down, but I don't care. I sit down with them and I engage with them and talk to them, find out, and again, to be specific, and I'll do a role play real quick. Hi, I'm Jamie. I'm new here. And by the way, if you're new, admit that you're new. People will take you by the hand if you tell them you're new. Don't try to come off as you know everything. But I said, hey, I'm new in the area. I'm new here. And I'm curious. You're here for service. What'd you bring in? Oh, I brought a 2017 Pathfinder. Great. What are you getting done today? Well, there was a recall. Oh, really? Okay. What else? Well, my transmission needs fixed, so on and so forth. All right. Now, if it sounds tragic, I'll go back to service and find out how much their bill might be. Might be. And I come back and I'll say, "Hey, I just talked to service, your service advisor, and you're looking at almost probably $1,800, maybe for the to fix everything." I said, "Are you interested in perhaps trading it in with us? We are low on pre-owns. We are in need of pre-owns, and we're giving more than fair pricing for trade-ins, but maybe between me getting you in here, appraising your car, and then including some rebates we might have and optional 0% financing, we might be able to get you into something at the same price you're paying now, and you'll have a brand new car with the newest technology and the newest safety features."
And a
Now,
full
again,
warranty.
I say it conversationally. Right now, I was just kind of saying it for me to make a point. But at the end of the day, I just again, hearkening back to the beginning of our interview, I make a friend. I try to, and
How many
eventually they'll talk.
sales do you get from the service department a month, approximately?
Believe it or not, because I'm new, I would say probably half. Probably half.
So you're doing at
Yeah.
least about 10 cars a month from the service?
Yeah.
So that's strong. So, folks, let me explain this to the audience listening. NADA says that a service customer is 7 times as likely to purchase a vehicle from the service their car from. You got to understand that people are going to service way longer than they're going to buy. So, again, a lot of times salespeople just worried about sales, sales, sales. But service is a massive untapped resource for 3 big reasons. One, what he's saying is, and remember, if you're new, think about this. When you come in, most people scatter like roaches when the lights come on. Service, and they're out because, they just don't want to do it for whatever crazy reason. They think, they're not going to buy a car. They're here for service. Wrong. NADA says a service customer is 7 times as likely to purchase a vehicle from the service car from. Fact 1. Fact 2, there's a whole category of people called orphan owners. They're people that their salesperson is no longer at the dealership, but they still need to do service. So you could get a list of all the service orphan owners and then get a chance to engage those people. Now, my favorite, category is service unsold sales customers. What does that mean? Every franchise dealer has a section of their service customers that service, they do repair orders, ROs, but they've never purchased a vehicle from their dealership for. So wait a minute. There's people that service with us year after year, et cetera, that have never purchased a car. Yes. Why is anybody selling them? Because nobody's bothering to be proactive and engage them. And so you heard what Jamie said. It was brilliant. He's identifying a stress point. Hey, this is $1,800 in a vehicle that's out of warranty or almost out of warranty, that is an older model that's got all this issues, whatever, and he's solving problems. Hey, you want to pay $1,800 to fix a used car that's a depreciating asset that's out of warranty? Or would you at least consider, a new vehicle if I could get you into the vehicle and keep your payments, where they're at now, or maybe even able to lower those payments? So again, I love that. Can you give us another? So service, ding, 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 ding. I think that's a home run. And not only the idea, but the way that you broke it down. Can you give me at least one more? Give me something that is like a go-to. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
what can you advise? Let's say it's like your best friend says, "Yo, Jamie, you're making money in car sales. You got me. I'm going to sell cars, and I'm your new best friend, and I just started selling cars. I'm like, all right, you got me here, bro. I'm broke. I'm not selling the cars. Give me a tip or an idea that I could sell some cars and make some money quick." What would it be?
Okay, the example I'm going to give you is not necessarily immediate fix. Okay, it's not, but it's something it's plan B, as it were. All right, because some people, it's 2026. They just bought a 2025. They're coming in for their, first oil change, first tune-up, whatever it might be. That doesn't shut you down. It could, but you simply say, okay, well, you got a new vehicle. And I always ask, and by the way, this is a side note. I always ask, who was your salesperson? 90% of the people can't remember. You have to make yourself memorable. How's that happen? Follow up. It's their birthday. It's their car's 1 year anniversary from buying it, whatever it might be. Use your CRM. But my point is I then, if I see it's what I'd say a dead end, I say, listen, and again, right now I'm using I'm new because again, people feel for you. They go, oh, you're new. Okay. And I said, look, we have a referral program. If you have anybody that's looking for a vehicle, it doesn't have to be Nissan. We have pre-owns. We've got Fords. We've got Infinity. We've got all that. I said, please give them the card. And if you think of it, write your name on it. And if they come in, I'll make sure that you get, a referral fee. Now, this dealership does less than I would like, but it does 50. Most dealerships do 100. Then I make a joke out of it. I said, it would be more, but it's illegal, so we can't, but I'm pushing for the legal part. You know what I mean? Like I just kind of try to make it fun and funny. And so just because somebody can't or doesn't want to see a car because they just got one and they're in for their first oil change, tune up, whatever, there is a plan B. And so just, again, it's your marketing yourself. That's all.
Awesome. Question for you. How long total have you been in automotive?
Oh, gosh. I mean, it really depends how you break it up, but
Bottom line me.
15 years.
Done. So my question is this. This is an oldie but goodie as an interviewer, okay? What would you wish that you knew back when you first started selling cars that you know now? You know what I mean? Like if you could go back to your younger version of you or your newer fledgling experience with the knowledge and experience you have now, what would you tell yourself?
I've always succeeded in my life because I always worked twice as harder as the next guy. Meaning, I go in before they open. I'll stay late if I have to. I outwork everybody. And when you're young, you can tend to not, but I'm telling you now, when you're there, just work. It's easy to be bored and to get on your phone and do whatever. Be proactive. I don't care if it's an inch or a mile, but you got to go onward and upward every single day. And the only way I've been successful, I'm not naturally intelligent, really. I mean, I feel like I'm pretty good, but at the end of the day, I've always outworked the next person. And being lazy or just going through the motions, I'm telling you now, you're there. You might as well give it your 100%. Just give it your 100% when you're there, and you'll feel good about yourself. You'll feel good about your day,
Jamie, last question. And we've already identified numerous times in the show that you were very successful as a national TV host. You had your own show. You interviewed people. I mean, freaking Justin Timberlake, stuff like that. So here's my last and final question for you. Okay. And we don't have a lot of time, so I need you to think quickly and answer incredibly awesome. You are trained in the entertainment industry and your experience. So if this was your show, the Millionaire Car Salesman show, what's the one question that I didn't ask that I should have asked? So this is just an opinion. It's not a right or wrong, but let's switch roles for a second here. But I want you to ask yourself a question because you have experience as an interviewer and nobody knows you better than you. So here's the guidelines though. I need you to turn around and say something brilliant or valuable for our listeners. So what question do you want to ask yourself so you can answer and provide maximum value to my audience? Go.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I think, I hope that you don't feel this is a cop-out, but the first thing that comes to mind is confidence. You have to be confident in yourself. If you aren't confident in yourself, how can you expect anyone else to be confident in you? Okay. So the thing is, Because of my accomplishments, because of my parents, because of a lot of things, people automatically think I'm this person that I'm really not. I mean, I'm very empathetic. I'm very sensitive. I care deeply. I love deeply. But when people meet me, they say, "Oh, I don't need to compliment Jamie. He gets them all the time." Reality is I don't. And I don't need that. I don't need that to make me move forward. I don't. But be confident in yourselves. Be proud of yourself. People beat up pride all the time. I know biblically you're not supposed to be prideful, but you know what? You can be happy with yourself. You can be proud of the fact that you move forward every single day, at least a little bit.
I love it. Jamie, it was a pleasure getting to know you and hearing your incredible journey. I wish you continued success.
Thanks, man.
Again, please be active in the Millionaire Car Salesman Facebook group. I mean, we have 30,000 members, and they would be very lucky to hear some of your ideas and in showcasing what you're doing. I mean, you could post the cool things that you're doing or any advice, and that's how the community grows, is by, my whole vision is getting the information from the people that have it and giving it to the people that need it, which is the audience. So I look forward to seeing you in the Millionaire Car Salesman group. And everybody, this is SVB, and the place to be is the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast. Jamie, any last words before I let you go?
Last words is when I join the group, and I will, me in a Speedo, is that too soon?
As long as it's orange, I'm good.
All right, fair enough.
All right. Take care, my friend.
All right, brother.
Thank you so much for watching this week's episode. If you liked it, you're gonna love Bradley On Demand. Bradley On Demand is the most advanced virtual training, tracking, testing, and certification platform. What does that mean? It's an online university. And if you like this information here, we have hundreds and hundreds of advanced videos, step by step, on how to help you sell more cars more often and more profitably, so sign up now.